Hi everyone. Firstly, happy St George's Day. I found this on our history. Sadly, it's raining over where I am. I don't know what it's like around the world or the country, but never mind. It's St George's Day and we all need to be happy and everything celebrating, blah, blah, blah. However, I thought I'd do a very brief history lesson on who St George actually was, because if you remember, over the last, I don't know, let's just say 20 years, there's a certain religion and of a certain political leaning have tried to change the history of St George and the red and white English flag into some sort of day of racism. How sad. And they point blank refuse to educate themselves because they want to believe that white people are racist. They want to believe that St George was evil. They want to believe that England represents racism. Well, that's not true. And I'll briefly explain why in a moment. But let's just quickly go on to St George. Who was he? So, Greek origins and early life. St George, also known as Eurorius, I think I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, just tell everyone I did, was likely of Greek descent. His parents were Greek Christians and he was born in Cappadocia, a historical region that corresponds to modern-day central Anatolia. Some accounts suggest that his father died for his faith when George was around 14 years old. After his mother's death, George travelled to Nicomedia. Now, even obviously, St George was born in Tudor times, so Christianity, Christians, that faith, have been persecuted and killed just for being a Christian since the beginning of time. It's in there, black and white. Even a brief ourhistory.org from the computer. Go back right into the Bible, read from beginning to the end. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, sometimes can be a bit boring, but that's where your history is going to be, along with other things as well. A soldier in the Roman army. In Nicomedia, George became a soldier in the Roman army, possibly serving in the prestigious Praetorian Guard at the time. Christianity was still a minority religion, and Christians faced sporadic purges and persecutions. Despite the risks, George remained steadfast in his faith. So moving on, well-known account of St George's martyrdom is associated with the Diocletian persecution. So basically, the guys from Turkey, the people that tried to make St George denounce Christianity and go to their pagan god, basically. George was beheaded on the city wall of Nicomedia, that's in Turkey, due to his refusal to renounce his Christian beliefs. The Empress Alexandra, wife of Emperor Diocletian, supposedly converted to Christianity after hearing of George's suffering. There we go. There we go. But look down here, and I think, to be honest with you, we need to go. Oh, look, there he is. Look, racist. We need to, I think, in my opinion, go back in history a bit, especially about the Crusades. And just a brief summary here. During the Crusades, St George's image was used to inspire and rally Christian soldiers. He was seen as a symbol of bravery, chivalry, and victory over evil. The Crusaders believed that invoking St George's name would grant them divine protection and aid their battles against the Muslim forces. Yes, we were already being invaded by that certain religion back in the day. And even before that, if anyone can be bothered to do go back in history. We were not racist, and our English flag does not represent racism whatsoever. So the left and those who are ignorant are basically saying that the Christians who lived in England back in the day had to lay down and take it and just let us be invaded. Our young girls were raped even back then. Our villages were ambushed and our women were raped and our sons were taken as slaves. So, yeah, okay, so there we have it, basically. So, no, England is not a racist country. Our English flag does not represent racism, it represents bravery and having to, for hundreds of years, defend ourselves against certain forces. And history, sadly, as we know, well, those of you out there who are educated also know that history is repeating itself currently today, isn't it? Not only were we invaded by them back then, or them Tudor time years ago, the Nazis as well, and in my opinion, majority from that religion have the same mindset as the Nazis. So the sad fact is, out of all of this, guys, is people who are mainly left leaning or a certain religion or even just have no idea, they've already decided what history is. You can see, like I've said before, over Google, they've changed certain things. They've even tried to change what the word Nazi actually means. It's really quite alarming how people can really have this sort of mindset, and then when faced with the truth, they'll still argue that it's wrong. But all we can do is try. We can only lead deer to water. But anyway, guys, happy St. George's Day again, and we'll see you soon.